Greetings aboard the DLWeekly Orbiter. For your safety, intergalactic regulations require that you remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast. And please, watch your children. To make Tage and Teresa fly higher, pull back on the control lever in front of you. To descend, just push the control lever forward. Thank you. Please enjoy your spaceflight.
Hello, Weekly Tears. We are coming to you from the D23 Ultimate Fan Event Expo showroom floor. We're actually waiting to get into our next panel, which is the Jolly Holiday tribute to the Sherman Brothers, which we're like stupidly excited for. It's going to be amazing. But this whole experience has been incredible thus far, and we wanted to kind of catch up and let you guys know what we've been up to.
Yes, I would just want to start out without burying the lead, which is that this has been, for me at least, I think Teresa agrees, the smoothest of the three expos, or Ultimate Fan Events as they're calling it now, that we've been to.
Yeah, it's been very different, and we've been trying to figure out, trying to put our finger on what it is that made this different. But the show floor this year is just wildly massive with tons and tons of stuff to do. Panels to get standby in have been really chill. Everything that we've done standby for, we've gotten, which we were not expecting. So it's just been really great.
Which is important to know because we talked about, I think, a little bit on a previous episode that we, between the two of us, got a total of 3 reservations that we put in for. One of which was an ILM Stagecraft reservation. The other 2 were bringing animation to the parks and
directing Disney, which we actually skipped.
Yeah. So we were like, okay, what's the standby is going to be like, etc., stuff like that. And we found that when we showed up and waited in the standby, it seems maybe we don't have any real hard numbers, but it seems about 50% were reservations and 50% were standby capacity for each of these things. Now, we are waiting for Jolly Holiday, which is in the premiere stage, and the bringing animation to the parks was also in the premiere stage, which, if you've been to the expo last year, this was where Walt's plane was. So
Yes.
It's a giant auditorium that has plenty of seats. So I don't think we'll have any problem getting in.
No.
We're here about an hour-ish, hour and a half early right now as we're recording this. And there's plenty of room in the standby,
Yep.
so
Standby's not even halfway filled up right now. So we decided to get over here early because this was one of our top things that we wanted to see throughout the entire weekend. Plus, we wanted to make sure that we had time to sit and record and catch all of you up with what we've been up to. The other thing, too, that I've been curious about, with it being, the reservations, I'm wondering how many people were thinking standby was going to be a nightmare, so they just were focusing on the floor. Because if anything, the crazy lines and wait times have been on the floor and not the panels. So if panels are your thing, it worked out really well for you for panels. I was shocked. We'll get into it later, but Lorcana, of course, is the breakout thing at this expo. It's been crazy just to get to their display on the show floor, purchase their product. There's just been a huge craze for it. So I was worried. I really wanted to go to the Lorcana panel, but we didn't get a reservation for it, so I decided to stand by it. It was a breeze. I couldn't believe it. I thought that was going to be horrible.
In contrast to the actual the Ravensburger Pavilion, which has been difficult.
For Ravensburger, they actually had to shift from the first day. That it was I don't know. So the show floor opened at 9. By 10, they cut off the line and shifted to a wristband thing. The wristbands they then were handing out starting at 5 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings to get your wristband to then be able to have an entry time back to go to their space on the show floor, which is just wild, absolutely wild. But the panel, I think everyone else assumed it was going to be crazy, so they stayed away. So I lucked out with that. That was really cool. But we getting ahead of ourselves because that was at the end of Friday. So how did we start the day off Friday morning?
I don't want to linger on it. I'm just going to quickly blow through it. But the main entrance was a little bit of a wait the first day because there was a lot of people who arrived really, really early, and they had put them in what had previously been the wait for the panels in the morning, which was in kind of the basement area. And so I think what was happening was they were holding all of us who had arrived a little bit later outside while they were letting all those people in. We had a weekly tier go into the there's a transit area that she got dropped off in, and was able to walk right in. So that is kind of the hidden secret, was if you take a ride share or something, there's a transit plaza on the end of the expo the convention center that basically didn't have any wait anytime we got here. So the
Yeah.
main entrance is like, everybody of course goes to the main entrance.
Yeah, so there's the main entrance, and then Tag mentioned the one side. There's two side entrances. There's one on the Transit Plaza side, and then there's one that's facing
The arena side,
yeah, the
yeah.
arena side. So it's like facing the Disneyland Resort. Those two, you can still, there's still security, all that stuff. They just don't have all the like pumping up and excitement. All of the like big D23 banners are in the front main thing. The beautiful display. It's a Sorcerer Mickey hat that's got a ton of Swarovski crystals on it. That's all. So all the fun, cool, exciting stuff is in that main thing. So if you're going to do the expo once, it depends, you know, if that's important to you to see all that stuff, that's where all that, it's all in the main entrance. So I kind of like that we did one day in the main entrance and then the other days on the side entrance. So we got to experience a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
First thing we did when we got to the show floor.
Yeah, so we went in the doors and we ended up over by the car show, which is the Walt Disney Archives exhibit called A Great Big Beautiful Car Show. And there is some really cool things here. They have a giant like space rover thing from Prometheus. They have, Becky Klein said it was the smallest vehicle they have in their collection, which is a little Interpol car from the Muppets.
Yeah. The one thing that we both like geeked, well, two things that we both geeked with, no, three, sorry, probably more, I should just not even put a number. The things that we especially geeked out about as Disneyland park fans was there was the Main Street USA Runabout vehicle. Now, everyone knows this vehicle because there is very iconic photos of Walt in this vehicle. It looks like a carriage, and instead of having a steering wheel, it has like a bar. And there's even video of him driving this thing down Main Street
parade,
and having fun with guests as he's going down. So that was really cool to see that vehicle. They also had one of the original parking lot trams. I'm sure it brought back memories for Tay.
I never rode that parking lot tram because we would
didn't?
park and walk up to the front gate. This is before DCA existed. What surprised me most about the tram, though, was the cart where people like sit. The design is almost exactly like the current design of the parking lot tram.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. The biggest change was the engine, basically, that pulls the parking lot tram. So that was
and it
really
looks like
cool
it used
see.
to be open seating. They didn't have the little like doors that shut
the current
you in.
ones didn't have doors in the beginning either, but yeah, it was really cool to see. It's a great way to start the show. It was a big open area. There was a cool little tube, like portal,
like a portal.
From one to the other that was really cool to see.
There was a 1965 Ford Mustang convertible that was part of the Ford Magic Skyway from the New York World Fair, of course, in 64 and 65. So that was like wild to see. Did you ever think you'd see one of those?
No. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of the things on here I didn't think I would see. Some of the cool stuff is they had more vehicles from the Muppets, and like the Muppet movie, they had the Muppets Volkswagen Electric Mayhem van, which, what made this so cool, other than the fact that it was their van, is you look inside and you can see all the modifications they made to be able to get the puppeteers in there to be able to practice their art for the movie. That was really neat to see. There was a Pizza Planet truck and a bunch of other things there. Directly behind that was the D23, I'm switching between things, the Ultimate Fan Lounge, which had some photo ops.
Yeah, fun photo ops.
What was one of your favorite photo ops?
Merlin with the sword and the stone, so of course I needed to take a picture with him.
Yeah, and the one next to it that I liked was there was a Maleficent one.
Yeah, and all the photo ops kind of had to interwove and made sense with what the current gift for D23 Gold members is right now, because it's all kind of like magical, powerful characters in the Disney universe, so they kind of mirrored that.
And then right behind the Ultimate Fan Lounge is the Spotlight stage, and that first day they actually had a Ravensburger Lorcana conversation about some of the artwork, and they had some of the artists there that drew some of the artwork for the cards and kind of came up and talked a little bit about, almost like our last couple episodes where we were talking with Casey about how the cards were designed.
Yeah.
So these were some folks that did some of the original. They had the gentleman, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he did the Mickey.
The Brave Little Tailor Mickey
that was
card.
given out at the last expo.
Past that, we walked by, and of course we couldn't just walk by the Imagineering Pavilion. We spent most of the time, actually, we got to see the hollow tiles. They weren't in use. This Imagineering Pavilion has been really, really cool. This might be my favorite yet, because inside, of course, you can always chat with Imagineers about stuff, but they're actually have stations where they're practicing their craft, or they're like really showing the stuff off. Like they had all sorts of different demonstrations. There's actually a mini stage inside so that they can kind of do little mini presentations. So it was really, really cool. We spent a ton of time. We're going to go back there later today because we didn't spend enough time, but we spent a ton of time in the pavilion just in general. But we spent a ton of time talking with somebody from Disney Live Entertainment about costuming, which was really fascinating. On display, they have Minnie's 2024 Halloween costume, and they had displays of like what the different stages were. We have a spoiler alert. They produced these things so far in advance that 2025's Halloween costumes have already been created. The gentleman that we talked to was amazing. We probably spent at least 30 minutes talking to him.
Yeah, he was very generous with his time.
Yes, he was.
There was a small little group of us, I would say maybe 6 or 7 of us, that were just really interested in talking to him, and he was very excited to show off all of his stuff. He kind of hopped over and kept grabbing different pieces from like the little area there to show us. The Live Entertainment also does all of the name tags for the resort, so it was cool. He had a binder of all these different name tags that they've created for the resort over the years, which was really cool. We also saw, Teresa was talking about the holo tiles. Lonnie Smoot, who has the patent, I guess, for this, was there, so that was really cool to see. But to piggyback on what Teresa was saying too, is one of the things that it seems like the Imagineering panel is doing, or the Imagineering Pavilion is doing this year, is really highlighting and showing the current generation of Imagineers. So we all know the Joe Rohdes and the Tony Baxters and all that, but they're really trying to like put these names of current Imagineers out there that are doing stuff right now that are that next generation. And one of the ways they do that is each of the sections where they have, you know, the different things, like in this case the holo tiles, or they were doing some sculpting, or they had the Live Entertainment with costuming, is they actually have a little bio on the walls with their name and like what they do, so you can really get to know who the people are that are doing all of these things. That was really cool that they're doing that. So obviously last night, as we're recording this on Sunday morning, last night was the big experiences panel at the Honda Center, so we definitely have to go back into this because of the fact that they said that they have a bunch of new stuff in there after the announcements from last night. Well,
and we didn't get to hang out in here as long as we wanted to see all this stuff because we had our first panel that we were really excited to go see. It was, of course, on the Walt Disney Archive stage because it's like, you know, the best stage. But it was, I can't remember what the full title was, but basically it was celebrating 70 years of the Muppets, but really Miss Piggy. and that's exactly what it was. It was Becky Klein was there, of course, showing off some pieces that the archives have just received from the Henson Studios, and they were all Miss Piggy pieces, which was really, really cool to see. We got to see Foo-Foo, the original Foo-Foo, which was Miss Piggy's, of course, pet dog, a little fluffy white dog. The bicycle that Miss Piggy rides in one of the Muppet movies, which that scene is so iconic. So that was really cool. We saw Miss Piggy's engagement ring.
Which the bicycle they just like restored. So Becky was saying that like, what was it, like 2 days before they got it?
It arrived in like pieces when they got it, and they had to.
But the restoration just finished like a couple days ago.
So it's incredible. So basically, the archives is partnering with the Muppet Studio, Jim Henson Studio, to kind of make sure that they preserve these historic items. So one of the things that they were talking about and teasing and talking about just the process of how they do this is like Kermit's original banjo is still at Muppet Studio, and all of these things were still being used when they needed them to film. They were still actively being props, set pieces, you know, whatever. So basically the studios have been like, you know what, these are historic items. So what they're doing with the banjo specifically is it's actually somewhere right now being painstakingly duplicated. So they're going to have one that they can still use on screen. You're going to have no idea that it's not the original banjo, but then that way they can preserve the historic original banjo so that generations to come can appreciate it, and they can still have a banjo to use when needed. So it was really, really cool, and it made a lot of sense, and the archives was super excited to be receiving these items as well.
Yeah, Becky Klein was really, you could tell she's like a Muppets fan because she was up there kind of geeking out.
She said Miss Piggy is her favorite, so that was even more exciting for her. So that was
Wasn't Miss Piggy making a joke when we walked in about how like she wasn't a Disney legend?
Yes, she was. Like they overlooked her again this year. Or, you know, I can't remember. It was funny.
Because she was saying something like, I don't know who these people are or whatever.
Yeah, she was funny because Miss Piggy, of course, couldn't be there in person, but she did record something and welcome us all to the panel that was mostly about Miss Piggy, aka moi.
So, magic spoiler, something that I think we learned this time, at least I did, was they said that if they're going to talk about the Muppets...
The character.
Mm-hmm. That character can't, like, be there. Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. They try and keep it separated.
Yeah.
So whenever they peel back the curtain, the character also cannot be present.
Yeah. Which I think was interesting.
It
I hadn't
total
considered
sense.
that before.
Made total sense. Then in the afternoon, we of course went outside, got our lunch at one of the food trucks. We were very fortunate and got to bump into our friend Michael Vargo several times on Friday, which was wild to me because there's so many people here. I thought for sure we wouldn't be able to see him this weekend,
Yeah.
so that was really special that we got to say hi a couple of times and chat with him, of course get our photo.
His team have done an amazing job this expo.
Yes.
Like I said at the beginning, this has been the best expo we've been to. It's been pretty stress-free. We've got anything we've wanted to do, we've basically been able to do. The stuff we haven't done is just because, like, we make the decision of, like, do we want to spend the time to wait in that line right now or not? But, like, that's our choice. It's not something that was difficult.
Right.
All the stuff we'll get to in a little bit about the Honda Center, that's all been spectacular. So his team really did an amazing job this year. And so if any of them are listening, from all of us, it was a great event, and I'm sure it was a lot of blood, sweat, tears, hard work, but it was a great. It's great.
Yeah, it really did. It went off with a hitch. There's really, for us, we have experienced like no hiccups, which is wild because something this massive, of course, like something is going to. There's going to be something, but our experience has been smooth sailing.
Yes.
We loved it. So in the afternoon, we actually kind of split up. I really wanted to go to the Lorcana panel.
You skipped out on an important
lunch?
thing. No, as we went out to lunch, it was our first Josh DeMauro sighting.
Yes.
Because he was out by the Sorcerer Mickey hat, I think, doing a meetup and doing some like press stuff out there. But we also just quickly, we don't have to get into lunch. I just want to say, again, there was the food trucks, which were very good again. All right,
very
now the
delicious.
afternoon.
All right, so then in the afternoon, we actually split up. I really wanted to go to the Lorcana panel, so I sat and did standby for the Lorcana panel. And it was really fun. It was very informative. We got a lot of information, so all of you Lorcana fans out there, we got sneak peeks of set 6 that's coming out. So set 5 just released on Friday. Set 6 will be coming out later this year, so sneak peeks on new cards that are coming to that. They were sharing a lot of numbers and stats, and one of the things that was wild, 1 billion. They have sold 1 billion cards, and they're just celebrating their first year anniversary, which is 1 billion cards they said would wrap around the world like 1.5 times. They also announced that Pixar will be joining the Lorcana universe later, and they also were showing off cards that were going to be prizes for the different like championships, because they've got a competitive circuit right now, so they're showing off the prizing for that. They also are going to be coming out with Lorcana cards that are specific for you to take into the parks to have your favorite character sign, which I thought was really, really cool.
You didn't tell me that. That's cool.
Yeah. Black Cauldron is coming to the Lorcana universe. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers are coming, as well as Pocahontas. So tons of really fun, exciting announcements. Oh, and then one that I was really excited about, because I am a casual player of Lorcana, and there's a lot of people that are very competitive. So going to some of the tournaments, for me, it's a little like it's too much. Like it's a little
intimidating.
It's a little like, whew. So they're actually coming out with a more casual play thing that's going to be called Disney Lorcana Quest. So to get like points in that to then get the prizing is going to be fun stuff. Like, yes, of course, playing the game, but then also, did you dress up in like Disney stuff? Did you this? Did you that? Like, so it's kind of just more fun and more laid back and not as competition focused. So I'm really excited to hear and see more about that.
And what did you get at the end?
Oh, this was like wildly cool. So at the end, we got the Mickey Mouse Playful Sorcerer D23 promo card, as well as the 1-year anniversary promo pin, and a pack of the new released Lorcana Shimmering Skies booster pack. That was really, really, really cool. I about died. That was worth it alone, since the pavilion has been insane. they're giving out the promo cards and the pin at the pavilion, but the pavilion's been super insane.
Yeah.
So that was like a weight off my shoulders, like, oh, okay, because I really wanted the card.
Yeah. So while Teresa did that, I kind of just wandered the show floor because I wanted to see. We had only seen a half to 2/3 maybe of the show floor at that point. So I walked by the Disney on Broadway pavilion where they had one of the cast members from the Lion King on Broadway musical that played Scar, and they were talking about the costume that goes along with that and all the intricacies and how much it weighs and all that stuff, and demoed some of the animation that they did, which was really cool. Then I walked over to what's called the Emporium area, and this is where all the like smaller vendors that aren't like the huge companies like Loungefly and Disney and everything. It was basically the smaller vendors. So like our friends Lynn and Ken from the Sweet Spot were there at the Laughing Place booth. There was a Mice Chat booth. There was a lot of like pin vendors and stuff like that. One thing that I saw that I thought was super amazing was they had a Disneyana Collection 1955 Sleeping Beauty Castle Spire that was actually on the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland. It was removed from Tower 4 during a recent rehab, and you could buy it for $18,000.
The low price of $18,000.
But that's so cool.
Amazing.
And then I went back and I checked out the Disney Plus Pavilion, which had some pin giveaway stuff, but I didn't do any of that. But I did get a picture of the Doctor Who police box, which was on display.
And was that we should double check. I believe that may have been a screen-used TARDIS.
Probably.
And not just a prop TARDIS. They also have, for Doctor Who fans, they had the Doctor's current outfit on display as well as his companion's current outfit, which was super cool. If you haven't watched it on Disney Plus, highly recommend. After
walking around a little bit, it was time to figure out what we needed to do to get over to the Honda Center. And so this actually went pretty smooth. So I met up with Teresa after the panel. We went out and they had, at the convention center, they have free bag check. At the Honda Center, it's $15 a bag. So don't do it at the Honda Center, do it at the convention center. And we went to the arena tram pickup because we thought that like less people would be over there. The bag drop off there was full, so we had to go to the main one. We were able to check our bags super easy. And then we went back over to the arena to get on the bus. The bus was really amazing because they had a little DVD that would play. It was really nice because Don Hahn was actually narrating it, and they kind of talked about music. He referred to the bus ride over as a magic carpet ride.
It was cute.
Along Catella.
I was not expecting a themed bus ride at all. It was amazing.
But it was really great. So we had some Disney music and stuff all the way over. We got dropped off. Getting into the Honda Center through security was really fast and easy.
Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, but Noom builds personal plans that meet your needs. Noom takes into account dietary restrictions, medical issues, and other personal needs to build the plan that works for you. Noom is built for your psychology and your biology. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. Noom helps you build new habits for a healthier lifestyle. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Noom's flexible program focuses on progress instead of perfection. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. And check out Noom's first ever cookbook, The Noom Kitchen, for 100 healthy and delicious recipes to promote better living. Available to buy now wherever books are sold. Individual results may vary. Visit our website at Noom.com for more information.
Well, hello, Weekly Tears. You may notice that you hear some different background noises. We actually had to pause recording while we were at the convention center because we were getting loaded to go see our next panel. So we are now actually at the Disneyland Resort. So the D23 Expo has concluded for us, or the Ultimate Fan Event, has concluded. And we're now sitting in New Orleans Square. You can probably hear some familiar sounds around us, but we'll pick up where we left off from. And we just had gotten off the bus, last you had heard, to do our first evening in the Honda Center. So first of all, I think we need to start by explaining, yes, we got tickets to the Honda Center. I know that when we first got tickets, we let you all know that the only thing we were able to get, which was even difficult to get on its own, was just access to the convention center. Well, through a hidden Mickey, we were able to get there was some tickets that were set aside that they released that some people were getting emails about through D23 to be able to come and grab. So we were able to get Honda Center tickets, which we were like super stoked about. We got our cheap seats ticket, so we were more than thrilled because we just wanted to be in the room, and man, that room did not disappoint.
Yeah, it was definitely the 3 nights, which we'll talk about here, were definitely, for me, the highlight of the entire fan event because it was just so different and kind of like a party atmosphere. The bus situation was pretty easy. When we got there, we offloaded. There was a small security line that we went through. Everybody seemed to do a really great job at bringing the size bag that was allowed. We didn't see a lot of people get turned away with those type of things.
You know what? I didn't even realize that until you just said that. I didn't see anybody having issues with bags. So that was great.
It was wonderful. The pro tip, though, and I think we said this earlier, but I want to make sure in case, is if you go to this next time, the free bag check is at the convention center only. Otherwise, it's $15 per bag at the convention center. So definitely get it done at the convention center.
That was our experience. This expo, who knows, it might change next time around.
Yeah, so we got in pretty easily. They gave us a little wristband flashy light thing that was going to interact with parts of the presentation.
We also were given something in a black envelope that said "Do not open," which we will tell you what that was in a little bit. But that was pretty fun. So we got a couple of goodies as we went in.
Yeah, so we went in. The Honda Center, for people who haven't been there, we had not ever been there before. Really large facility, but really well laid out in terms of signage and stuff, so we were able to easily find our way to our seats. On the way, we made the mistake, I guess you could say, of not getting food beforehand, so we got food there. The Honda Center food is a little pricey. I had a fountain soda that was $10. Teresa had a bottle soda that was $8, and we both had a $9 hot dog. So it added up quick. So the next 2 days, what we ended up doing is we ended up eating at the convention center before we went over. We thought that was just kind of a better situation all around. Yeah, and so we went in, made our way to our seats. Even though the venue is massive, I felt that even though we were, 5 rows from the back, like the furthest away you could get, wasn't too bad.
I was terrified.
Well,
so,
yes.
There was that. By the third night, I had gotten used to it, but that first night, I was like, I don't want to have to stand up and like leave during the convention, like during the presentation, because it was very steep. So I was not very comfortable with the steepness of it at first. But like I said, I did get used to it. But
the other thing to mention is the seats here are also really narrow. I felt like they were tiny. They were comfortable, but tiny.
They were narrow. And the other thing that was a little difficult was the space, like your legroom space. You couldn't like really shift your legs around very much. So thankfully, we were fortunate that the seat next to me somehow, whoever had purchased that seat never showed up.
For any of the days.
So we had a little bit of extra room. So like I was able to set things like my ears and my little bag in that seat. I could shift like my legs over into that space. So then that way Tag could kind of shift and use some, like we kind of had like a space and a half for legroom, which made it much more comfortable. But for the actual event itself, they did a fantastic job. They had like a hype crew in the beginning. So they were doing, the first night was like things like Finish That Disney Lyric. The second night was parks related trivia. And then the third night was legends related trivia. So they kind of had different themes each night. So it wasn't like you were hearing the same hype stuff every night, so that was really nice. And then the Honda Center allowed them to do stuff. It felt like a rock concert at points. Tons of stars came out. I'm trying to remember who all the performances were from the first night. Somehow the other night, the next night, I remember, well, maybe because it was a Parks panel, I remember who all those performances were, but this was just jam-packed full of all sorts of different announcements from all of the different studios. I'm trying to think of what I would consider my highlights, because of course, if you're online, all of the trailers that were teased and previewed and shown to us first at the expo are now all shared by the studios online. I think the thing that, shockingly, I was probably the most excited about announcement-wise was there was a couple of Star Wars things that were actually really exciting sounding to me. The Mandalorian's getting his own feature film along with Grogu, as well as they have a series coming called The Skeleton Crew, which it appeared that there were characters from other TV series that are making their like live action debut for this Skeleton Crew thing. So that both of those looked really cool. What were some of the highlights for you?
I thought that the way that they did the venue was really great, because they had a lot of like screens and stuff that animated in different ways and stuff, and I really appreciate that. I just thought of all 3 nights, the showmanship in this venue was just amazing. It was definitely, like Teresa said, like a rock concert. It was definitely an experience each night, which is why for me it was like the highlight of the entire Ultimate Fan event, because I don't go to a lot of concerts. I think I've been to like 2 concerts in my entire life, and I've been to a few like shows. I just recently went to like a Moulin Rouge musical show in Wisconsin, but this was just kind of like amped up to the next level. Of course, there was people. The Rock showed up at one point. Dwayne Johnson.
Oh my gosh, there's so many stars.
The voice of Moana showed up. Like, there was just a bunch of people that were there and announced a bunch of different things. Teresa's excitement was really over the top when Dwayne Johnson announced this monster truck thing, and they shot flames and fireworks in the auditorium. She was like, "There's fireworks!"
I was so happy.
So that was really cool. Of course, James Cameron came out and talked about Avatar, which looked interesting. The thing that was odd was they kept bringing out like famous people, but they kind of were just there. They didn't really say a lot. They just kind of were like there, which was cool to be in the room with those folks. But I don't know. I expected if you're gonna have a A-list celebrity come out that they would talk more.
We should have like kept count.
There was
how
a
many
lot.
celebrities there were, because it was wild.
There was a section in the middle that it was like sequel, and then we got a bunch of new stuff announced. I am overjoyed that they are going to be having a Greatest Showman musical. The performance that went along with that was amazing. It felt like a total party. Season 2 of Andor, I'm also very excited about.
We need to back up, because we also forgot that to start the show, there was actually a live performance by the voice of Moana singing one of the songs from the new film Moana 2. So that was like super cool and a super cool surprise. They announced a Tron 2, which then they like lit up, they put smoke and like lit up the arena like it was the grid, which was really, really cool. So it was just wild, because even though we were in the cheap seats, we got to see everything, which made it really cool, really special, because there were some things that I'm like, that they were doing on the walls and on like the, I don't know, spaces in between each level, that I was like, as cool as it would be to be on the floor, so you may have missed some of that like showmanship and some of that stuff. So I don't know, I thought it was super, super cool.
Another highlight that I'd forgotten about, only because there was so much that has happened in the last 3 days, was the cast of the new Agatha All Along show that's came out and did a little performance, which I was excited, and I thought it was really amazing. They announced Freakier Friday, which apparently was like a big deal for a lot of people. We got our first glimpse of the live action Stitch, which I thought looked pretty good, actually, like the actual character.
Let's not forget Lin-Manuel Miranda made his D23 in-person debut. He's working on the music for the new Mufasa film, which is going to be like a live action kind of prequel to The Lion King, telling the story of Scar and his brother Mufasa.
And they all gave us a Fandango ticket to go see it when it comes out later this summer. So that was really cool. That was kind of like the fun little event that we got at the end.
The other thing, too, that we need to make sure we tell you about was that fun little black envelope that said, "Do not open." So part of the National Geographic announcements was David Blaine, a magician, is doing a series on National Geographic, and he came out, and what was in that little black envelope was a deck of cards, and it was a deck of cards that he had done all the designs on, so like they were beautiful. The back sides were very intricate and had all sorts of little hidden details and such in them. But anyways, it was basically, he did this crazy card trick that the entire audience of like 12 to 13,000 people all got to participate in, and it was pretty incredible. I know that there's a method, and like I understand that it's all an illusion, but man, that one was incredible. So we had to like take our cards, pull part of the cards as far deep down as we wanted, take them over, flip them upside down, put them back on top of the deck, go down further, take them, flip them, put them back on top of the deck, and then somebody in the audience, they said, this many, pick a random number, okay, this many cards, put those on the bottom of your deck, okay, another random number, whatever. Then we ended up putting one of the cards off to the side. He asked 2 people to come up to the stage. He flipped through the remaining cards in the deck and told the guy, any of the cards that you see in the deck, I want you to commit it to memory. Don't say it out loud, don't tell me, don't tell the other person next to you. And so He did. The wild thing was when I was watching on screen, that the same card he picked was the one that like stood out to me too. And then he asked the girl to pick a card from the deck. Ended up being the queen, and the queen of something, I don't remember what. And David's like, was that your card? And he said, no, my card was the 3 of hearts. And he's like, well, she's holding it. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And then they zoomed in close, and the queen, the image of the queen on the card that the other participant had picked, was that image was holding a 3 of hearts card. So it was pretty crazy. And then to top it off, everybody was supposed to then take the one card that we had all pulled out of our decks. And guess what? We all had pulled out the 3 of hearts. So that was pretty insane.
Yeah. After the presentation, we got back on the shuttle bus, which once we figured out where the line was, because they all shuffled us out one door, not the door we came in on, different doors, so we had to kind of get our bearings when we got out of the Honda Center, because it's kind of a, an oval, so it's trying to figure out which side you're on. We got back on the bus pretty good. It looks, don't be deterred, it looked like
chaotic.
There was a ton of people and that we were going to be there for hours, but they moved, and we got back to the convention center just fine. We picked up our bag check stuff, and we're able to make it back to the hotel with no problem. The next day, we started our day with the first panel that we stood by and waited for, which was the 1964-65 World's Fair panel. And this panel was amazing because it had, of course, the director of the Walt Disney Archives, Becky Klein, the chief creative officer of Pixar Studios, Pete Docter, the senior creative executive for Imagineering, Tom Fitzgerald, and the archives and heritage manager for the Ford Motor Company, Ted Ryan, came out. And they talked about how all of their stuff was kind of influenced in different ways by the 1964-65 World's Fair. They also ended up having other folks come out a little bit later, which was like a shock as well.
And Leonard Moulton was the one that was hosting. And so it was really interesting because Leonard had actually attended the 64-65, I don't remember which year it was that he attended, 64-65 World's Fair. So he was talking about his memories. Tom Fitzgerald, I believe, also got to attend the World's Fair. So they were talking about their memories as children attending the fair, and then how that kind of carried and stayed with them during their life, and how that kind of maybe shaped them into the people that they are today and put them on the career paths that they eventually took as well, which was really, really neat.
But the big surprise was later on Jon Favreau, which people know from
multiple things.
Marvel, Star Wars, everything like that. He's credited as filmmaker and actor and a Disney legend, but also Kevin Feige, who is president of Marvel Studios. Something that I learned that I thought was fascinating was Jon Favreau actually grew up in an apartment that overlooked Flushing Meadows, which is where the 64-65 World's Fair was. He talked about how he'd ride his bike through there and all of this different stuff, and how that was instrumental in kind of like his growing up and learning about that kind of stuff. And then Kevin Feige talked about how they wanted to recreate the feel of the World's Fair for the Iron Man movie, I think it was Iron Man 2, where they were at Stark Expo, and they actually worked with Richard Sherman to create a theme song that would feel appropriate for that time period and be optimistic and hopeful and all that stuff, kind of like A Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. And I thought that was fascinating. Like, I need to go now. I really want to go back and watch Iron Man 2 because I want to like watch that sequence again.
I remember that sequence, and I remember like getting the feeling, because they really portrayed Howard Stark as a like Walt Disney type figure. I saw the parallels the first time that I had watched that. I did not know that it was a Richard Sherman original though that they had used for it, but it makes total sense because it definitely invoked like that feel. But I remember being like blown away by that scene. I know it's supposed to be an action film and that there's supposed to be all the cool fight scenes and all that, but I just remember being like wowed by Stark Fest or whatever I can't remember what it was called.
Stark Expo.
I remember being wowed by those scenes. The other thing, too, that Pete Docter was talking about was, he was talking about how the 64-65 World's Fair has been something that he's always been really interested in his life, and how it's actually been, you can see some of the influence in different Pixar films. He said we use like Mary Blair a lot as like a reference for some of our colors and stuff. Like we draw a lot of inspiration from her, which
I feel like you could see that a lot in like Monsters Inc. Like that opening seems kind of Mary Blair now that I like reflect on it.
Which of course Mary Blair's the one that did all the like art direction for the It's a Small World attraction that premiered at the World's Fair and now of course resides, that original one then got moved to Disneyland here. But then he was also talking about just stuff like how, like in Monsters Inc. again, how the Monstropolis was kind of loosely based on the World's Fair, and how like so where Mike and Sully work, how like the atrium, the lobby of that was, they wanted like to kind of invoke the same feeling of like a world showcase pavilion that you would see at the World's Fair. So there was a lot of really cool stuff, and it was one of those, when Pete was saying it was like, oh, like it makes total sense. But yeah, and same thing even with like the Mary Blair influences. Just think of how like whimsical some of the characters and designs are in some of your favorite Pixar films.
We also left out, and I had to look him up because I didn't take a picture of it, but they also had Brad Bird, who directed the Tomorrowland movie.
Oh, yeah.
And he talked about recreating the World's Fair for kind of a pivotal, important scene in that film, and how they came and used the real It's a Small World, which I did not know that they did that between the transformation of the regular It's a Small World to It's a Small World holiday. That's kind of when they did the filming. He said the horticulture team was amazing, and like they removed topiaries and stuff for them to be able to do this. They had installed different things inside the flume to be able to film the stuff that they needed to film. So really cool. And Tomorrowland, it's a huge segment of this movie, had like the World's Fair that they were able to recreate, which I remember that was one of the things I was most excited about seeing that movie, was the recreation of the World's Fair.
That was the whole reason I watched that movie, was because of the recreation of the 64-65 World's Fair. And then moving on after that, we went and just enjoyed the show floor. We got to go see cool things like on the floor just as we had exited. They had stuff like the TARDIS was there. The screen used costumes for the current Doctor were on display and his companion, which Vern and I are big Doctor Who fans, so that was really exciting to see those things. We saw a Loth Cat on display. We saw I can't remember his name, but it's the guy that says, "I've spoken." In The Mandalorian, he was there on display. Yeah, lots of just really cool stuff. We looked at some of the shops. Tag reminded me that
Quill.
We went up to Quill, is the I Have Spoken character. Went and checked out some of the shops. There was a space dedicated to Inside Out 2, which was really fun. It was interactive. You actually got to go to like the control panel, press a button, and the control panel would like, and then it would light up a certain color, and it would like give you your emotion, which was really fun. Tag and I both had ones that we were hoping that we would get.
What did you hope you were going to get?
Spoiler alert, we did not get them.
What did you hope for?
Really anything probably but ennui, which is what I got. Ennui just doesn't seem to fit me. Like,
sure, no, definitely does not. I hit it, and I feel like the emotion that I experience most strongly in general is just anger sometimes. So I was hoping for anger, and it was funny because I ended up getting fear. I got fear, and I kind of like got angry, and the lady, after you do this, they give you a matching button to what you got. And she's like, "I heard you wanted anger, here you go," and handed me an anger pin. And Teresa ended up getting
nice. I was nice. There was a gentleman that was kind of standing at the exit that apparently was confused by how you were supposed to do it. He didn't realize he thought it was just a photo op. He didn't realize you were supposed to press the button to then get your assigned emotion, to then be given a free button. So I gifted him my ennui button. He was very happy, and then the cast member was very kind and then asked if what button I wanted. So then I chose nostalgia, because
nostalgia's awesome.
She gives me so much joy. I just think she's so cute. Not yet nostalgia.
Yeah. We went to the shopping area, the market kind of place that's kind of separate from the whole expo. We went to the World of Disney, the product experience is what the area was called, and they had like a little Disney store thing, which was kind of neat because they had like a claw machine that you could win some plushes from there.
Line for that claw machine.
There was some little displays and stuff. There was a mini golf section up there. It was really cool.
Joffrey's coffee display, the Darkade, that's what they were calling it.
Yeah.
Star Wars themed arcade games.
Yeah, so we went back down to the show floor and kind of wandered around like you were saying. They had on the show floor, the ILM or the Lucasfilm area had a half of the void, like the screen technology they used to film like The Mandalorian is most famous, but they filmed a bunch of things there. And in the morning they demonstrate how that works and what it looks like. And that was really cool. When we went back the second time, they were talking to the Acolyte
the
villain. So he's playing Quimir, Qimir. And so he was there doing like a little interview with one of the people talking about what it was like to be put in the costume and do all the scenes and do stuff with lightsabers. So
we heard him talking when we were standing there talking. He was talking about the helmet and how, like, what it felt like to be in that helmet and wear the helmet and act in that new iconic helmet. So the thing that was wildly cool about this, it's not as big as I thought it was going to be. I don't know why. I thought it was going to be much more massive since it creates like an immersive environment. But the actual stage, I guess I'll call it, that you're standing on really isn't that big.
Well, the real one is 360.
Well, right, but still, like...
Yeah. Or the full one, I should say.
This was
not
part
that it's
of it.
unreal.
So the stage wasn't much bigger than what the pavilion or the display was on the showcase floor. So that was, in my mind, I imagined it to be much, much more massive. But watching what the screen looked like in real life versus how when they use the camera angles and go with different things and how it looks then translate on the film was crazy cool to see, because it's not as cohesive as it looks on film. There's like different sections that kind of show different perspectives, I guess, of the same scene.
Yeah.
But I understand how being an actor, this would be a lot better to act in space-wise, because you're immersed in the environment more so than if it were just a blank green
seeing
screen.
It. Because like if you're at a green screen, you have to use your imagination, but in this you get to see it.
Even though it's not exactly what then is the final, what is presented to audiences, it still gives you a much better sense.
I don't have any other pictures until we are leaving to go to the thing.
The other thing we did was we went to the Nat Geo experience in Pavilion, which I was really cool. They had what they call it, a hexagon. So you went into this room and it had multiple screens. It wasn't a continuous screen. It was just, you were surrounded by 6 screens.
Yeah.
And it was showing different things and so you just felt immersed in some, and they were showcasing different features and different shows that they have going on. Some of them were terrifying, like this guy free climbing a mountain with like no safety anything.
There was the one section, the poor lady behind me, there was a bunch of like bugs.
Oh yeah,
and she was like,
and stuff.
So the people were with her were like, just close your eyes, we'll tell you when it's over.
Yeah. There was these people that looked like flying squirrels in like parachute outfits that would jump out of planes.
Well, there was the David Blaine thing, the show. Again, they showed some scenes from that of him like setting himself on fire.
Yep.
Which was super cool. It did what it was meant to do, because now I kind of want to go watch these things on Disney Plus that I've seen like parts of. Like, I'm interested to watch that flying squirrel one because I'm curious how they land. I'm sure they're going to talk about it.
Yeah. But anyways, then we decided we needed to get our butts moving because we did not want to be late to the Parks and Experiences panel. We did grab a snack before going to the Parks Experience because we didn't want to eat the hot dogs again. But that was insane. So again, they had like the hype crew when we first got there. But the thing that I'm still waiting for an announcement.
I think this is Teresa's highlight of the entire thing.
I was dying.
Was this the highlight of the entire thing, I think?
Maybe not. Like, it was up there, though.
Because you have talked about this a lot.
It was up there. I was freaking
You're not
out.
wring, by the way. I just want to be clear. Yeah. Like, it was fantastic.
So there was a little pre-show entertainment before the show opening, and they didn't announce the group's name. It's not like a nationally known group by any means, but if you're a Disney fan, you know this group. But it was the Mad Tea Party. And so I looked at Tage, I'm like, is this our first announcement? Is the Mad Tea Party coming back? Which would make total sense. You've got the Fantasyland Theater that now has nothing, Hyperion Theater that has had nothing for quite some time, and you still have the Backlot stage that really hasn't had, it's had different things kind of filter through, but nothing concrete. But man, because I was just looking at, I said to Tage, this was way too much effort. They did a set of 5 songs maybe,
which were all fantastic,
which were just incredible. The costuming, the makeup, and it's they brought this group to. I'm like, why would you have brought this group of people together just for this one thing? That seems like a lot of effort.
For people who don't know, because Teresa's caught up with the excitement, the Mad Tea Party was part of a show that they did, like a nighttime entertainment in California Adventure in the Hollywood backlot, and the people that were performing that we're talking about were dressed as the Mad Hatter, Alice, the Caterpillar, the March Hare. So when she's talking about the costumes, she's talking about these amazing, I don't even know how you describe them, but
it's like if the Mad Hatter was a rock star.
Yeah.
That's what the costume, or if Alice was a rock star, that's what the costumes looked like. And then they had, obviously they didn't have somebody in a full Cheshire Cat costume, but like his jacket was they're very specific costumes. It's not like they just went and pulled something off the rack kind of costumes. And I don't know this for sure because it's been some time since the Mad Tea Party has been presenting. I'm almost wondering like if it was the same performers or not. But man, I tell you, these people were wildly talented. The singing, the music, all of it, the energy.
The audience was really into it.
The audience was there for it. I told Tag, I said, I would go to their concert. I would 100% go to their concert and have the best time of my life. They were wildly talented.
The next thing, which I think was also extremely popular, was they opened the show with Patrick Warburton reprising his role as Patrick, which this was posted on social media. You probably have seen this already. But he announced the beginning of the panel or whatever being there, and it was amazing. I think they had the original actor that had the Mickey ears on there because he took them back off again.
Beauties guy.
Yeah, it was
They had
fantastic.
some Disney royalty guest appearances sprinkled in there. Kelly Morrow Brock, the current voice of Minnie Mouse, was part of that video, which I thought was fun. But yeah, it was a good time.
So just to give you a little description, so the first night, it was just a stage. They have a massive screen in the middle, 2 smaller screens on either side. Same basic setup this time, except for they had like a full orchestra on the set, on the stage. So Josh Tomorrow came out and said that the theme, the way they were going to go through announcing all of this stuff, was going to be the thread that kind of bonded all these things together, where it's going to be music. So they were going to play pieces of music and talk about a bunch of different things. And I think they did a pretty good job delivering on that description.
The show kicked off, like the official kickoff of the show, was John Stamos coming out, playing piano, and singing a very beautiful rendition of When You Wish Upon a Star. He got to introduce what the Disneyland 70th logo was going to be. Unfortunately, that was really the only 70th news that they announced at the presentation, so we're eagerly awaiting for more, but still exciting nonetheless. But Disneyland was the first thing that they were talking about. So after they talked about the 70th logo, they also announced that the Avatar Land is a thing, and it is coming, and is coming to DCA. They have not officially announced where in DCA it will be, but it is coming, and it's going to be DCA, and it's going to be based on Way of Water and on, as far as like, it's a new land. It is not Pandora, like it's not the Pandora that's in Animal Kingdom. It's going to be a different part of the Avatar universe that's going to be represented in Disneyland.
Which will have an awesome, looks like a boat ride, which I have not heard official word, but some people that we talked to and some stuff I'd seen online said that this could be using the same technology that they use in the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction in Shanghai. That's instead of just like a normal flume, like you think you just go along in one direction, a flume, this will potentially allow you to like turn, and they can control the direction and speed and stuff, which would be really cool. Thank you, Mark Twain. This attraction could be good. We're also excited because boat attractions have a lot of capacity, and this is coming to DCA, so this is going to add much needed capacity to DCA. I said to an Imagineer in the pavilion yesterday, I said, I'm so glad that this will alleviate some of the pressure on Radiator Springs racers, because that poor attraction needs a break.
Well, and the other thing that's nice too is it's going to be, an all ages attraction. It's not another thrill ride, which DCA is kind of lacking in like family friendly attractions. So the ones that they do have kind of get used a lot. That's why there's like people go through first of all, Little Mermaid's such a good people eater, but it's one of the there just aren't that many. Not little kids can't go on like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Speaking of kids attractions, you predicted and willed this into existence. Your will was much better than mine, because mine was Tomorrowland.
I made a mistake though. Those of you that haven't been listening to the podcast for ever, because I'm not even remembering how long ago it was that I wished for this to be a thing.
It's been a while.
I gave up on this dream. I didn't think it was going to happen. I shifted this dream to be a stage show instead, and that's what I thought they were actually going to announce. So the next musical act that we got to experience was
Ernesto de la Cruz.
Ernesto de la Cruz came out and sang Remember Me, and I thought they were announcing a Coco show coming to the Hyperion Theater. But I was wrong in the best way possible. The announcement turned out to be a Coco-themed attraction will be coming to DCA. They're breaking ground, I think they said, in 2026 on this. Again, they didn't say specifically where this is going to be located in DCA, but it does appear to be another boat ride attraction, which means lots more capacity. It's family-friendly. but it's going to kind of follow along the events of the timeline of the movie. So we get to go to the land of the dead and watch Miguel's journey. I'm so excited for this. This is going to be so, so cool. But yeah, years ago, I wished for a Coco dark ride, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought that we would be getting a Coco show, and then they surprised me in the best way possible.
Yeah. So,
I screamed.
Yeah.
I screamed so hard when this was announced.
So the only other announcement for Disneyland Resort that they've talked about on this evening was a revamp to the Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln show, which is now going to include an animatronic of Walt Disney himself that will rotate with Abraham Lincoln. It's on a turntable, so it'll be, we don't know for sure, but it sounds like it's going to be like every other show. It'll rotate or something like that.
I don't know if it's like mornings versus evenings or if it's every other day. Like, I feel like rotating show by show is a lot for that, but I don't know. Who knows?
They said that this is coming in 2025, and it's going to be called Walt Disney: A Magical Life. In talking to the Imagineers that were at the Imagineering Pavilion, the one gentleman I talked to said he has seen this animatronic in person and said it is spectacular. That even Josh D'Amaro on stage said that they were waiting for the technology to get good enough to be able to do Walt, because obviously this is going to be very important.
Yeah, you cannot mess this one up. The person that we talked to in Imagineering also told us that the animatronic like takes a step towards the audience, which is also like going to be
cool.
Pretty cool to see. I'm hesitantly optimistic about this. I just remember hearing that when Walt was alive, he didn't even want like Blaine Gibson to make a sculpture of him or like a bust of his image. He didn't really, I don't think he really wanted to put himself in the front of some of these things. And so, so we have the statues, of course. We've got the partner statue, the storyteller statue, other statues around the world of Walt in his parks, which I think is a really beautiful tribute. And I can't...
Roy, too, at Disney World.
Yep, and Roy, too. And I just can't, in my mind, I can't decide if an animatronic is crossing the line or if it's still respectful. So I'm trying to be as neutral as I can on this, but I am hesitant about this announcement.
Sure. Yeah, we'll see what it looks like. I forgot. That was not the last announcement. The last announcement was Avengers Campus, they said, is going to double in size because right now there are 2 attractions and they're going to get 2 more attractions.
Double in size as far as attractions, not land.
So the first thing we heard about for the 3rd year in a row, or the third expo in a row, was the new Avengers ride, which they have the new title of, which is Avengers Infinity Defense, which is going to, they showed the ride vehicle and stuff at the pavilion as well. The other one that was a complete surprise was a new attraction that's going to use the robot arm stuff like they have in Universal Studios for the Harry Potter attraction, and that is going to be a Tony Stark one called Stark Flight Lab, which this one, what excites me about this is it looks like from the animation that they showed of where all this is going in Avengers Campus, this is going to be visible from the land. It's not going to be contained inside of an enclosed show building, so it'll add some kinetic energy, hopefully. Obviously, we won't know for sure until they break out and actually build it.
I'm curious if that's what it actually is or if it's just a very open space that they have this in.
They said the construction on these 2 will begin next year. By the way, this attraction, you will not go in the front of the building of the Avengers headquarters like we thought. You'll actually go through a path that'll be on the right-hand side that'll connect to both of these attractions. So, what do you think? Are you excited to finally have a name and seem like some firm things for this? For those listening, she's baffled.
Yeah, I don't, and not positive baffled. I don't know. I feel like with how long we waited for this,
it's kind of underwhelming after this long.
Well, and it looks to me like it's going to be a screen-based attraction, and not one that you go through with physical props. I'm thinking of different attractions at Universal that are similar to this. There's a Simpsons ride that we did where you get in this pod and kind of.
But I had seen some things that were saying that it's going to be more like the Spider-Man one there, which is you have physical props, but then screens where a lot of the action happens, but you'll go between screens maybe, but we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know because the ride vehicle looks kind of like it's a boat or something like that, but you're like really in it. This almost looks like in Fantasy Springs they have a Peter Pan attraction that has a similar.
I think that's going to be the same ride.
Looking ride vehicle, and
system.
that was a lot of that. Was a lot of screen-based stuff too. So I'm a little, you know me, I like the physical prop stuff.
We all do.
More than the screen stuff. So I'm a little hesitant about that. So with how long we waited for this, it's not as mind-blowing as I would have hoped for. And the thing that I'm also a little confused about, I'm excited that they announced a 4th attraction coming to Avengers Campus. I want to see how this rolls out though, because the little, they're not really ride vehicles, but the things that you get into to experience the flight attraction, it's twos. They're little things of twos. So I'm trying to figure out capacity on that, how quick that's going to be able to get people through, or if it's going to be kind of a slower moving queue. I feel like it's got to have a good high capacity. Disney knows they need high capacity attractions. Yeah. There's very high demand for all attractions, so they need to try and make sure they get people through them. So I'm just curious, capacity-wise, what that one's going to look like. There was one final announcement that Tage forgot about. The Smuggler's Run is going to be getting an update to coincide with when the film releases for The Mandalorian and Grogu. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Smuggler's Run is going to be getting a re-theme to The Mandalorian and Grogu, so you're going to be flying around with them. They didn't say anything specific about, like, is Hondo still going to be part of the pre-show, but the only thing that they released concept-wise was sitting in the Millennium Falcon and seeing some of the images of Mando and Grogu in the space with you. So you're not going to be getting the coaxium for Hondo anymore.
They also didn't announce if they were going to like totally replace that, or if it eventually was going to be put in like a rotation.
Yeah. Very true, very true. But they did tease. That was kind of like a little thing. And we got an opening date for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Tiana's Bayou Adventure is officially opening in Disneyland on November 15th, 2024. So outside of the Disneyland resort updates that we were given, tons of new announcements. We'll quickly go through them. The Disney Cruise Line, they announced that there will be 4 new ships coming to the Disney Cruise Line. To help with that announcement, the band All For One performed. We've forgotten about all of the musical acts in all of this. Before, the other one that we forgot about too, Meghan Trainor performed Feed the Birds right before they announced the Walt animatronic. Oh my gosh, that was gorgeous. So we'll try and remember to talk about the musical acts as we're going through these as well. So All For One helped announce that 4 new cruise line ships are coming to the fleet, which will bring the total, this is wild, Tage and I have just been mind-boggled about this, which will bring the fleet to 13 Disney Cruise Line ships. And there are how many currently, Tage?
5.
Wild.
Which is, yeah, and they said by 2031, which is not that far off, really.
Absolutely insane. We're very excited about that.
One of the more confusing things for us older people was the Disney and Epic Games collaboration that they were putting new Marvel season stuff next week. They're going to be adding some Disney Animation, Pixar, Star Wars stuff to Fortnite as well. And an all-new season for the Marvel of Doctor Doom is coming next week. I don't know much about Fortnite. Some people seemed excited about this. Some people didn't seem excited or didn't understand it. I don't really understand it, but people who like games, you'll have more Disney.
I just had to laugh because they were showing some of the characters, and they have it's Wolverine, like a banana Wolverine, which just looked funny in general, but then the next day on the expo floor, there was a gaggle of them.
Yes.
I don't know, or a bunch. I guess I should have said a bunch. A bunch
gaggle
of bananas. There was, how many, like, I counted, because we took a quick little video. They had to have been, like, there for Disney or for Fortnite. There was no way that these were fans that quickly got those costumes together, because they were really nice quality, very elaborate costumes of something that was literally announced hours before. But it was, they were very funny to watch run around the thing. So I'm sure it's very entertaining to watch them run around the game as well. Coming to Disney Hollywood Studios, there's going to be a Monsters Inc. land, which Billy Crystal came out to help introduce and announce that. Construction begins in 2025 on this, and of course, Disney Hollywood Studios, they're going to have an attraction that makes it feel like you're zipping through the end of the film when Mike and Sully are trying to save Boo through like the area where all the doors are. And it's what do you call it? A suspended coaster.
Yeah, they said your feet are going to be dangling and stuff, so there's nowhere for your feet to go. So it'll be the first suspended coaster in any Disney park, which the concept art looks neat. I saw on the Disney Parks blog they had posted part of the pavilion that we didn't get into. They had like a plastic model of what the track layout's going to look like, so it actually looks. It doesn't seem like it's going to be like Tron. It's not a super long attraction, but it does look like it's going to be pretty cool. And from what I could tell, it looks like it might have a decent capacity. So,
also good.
This next one we got some more information about literally just this morning. We're recording this on Monday afternoon. And Cars is coming to Magic Kingdom. Construction is starting in 2025. This is going to be inside Frontierland, but not where people thought. Originally they thought it was going to be from like last Expo where they talked about Beyond Big Thunder. But where is it going to be? What's it going to be replacing, Teresa?
The Rivers of America. They're going to fill
and the island.
The Rivers of America at Walt Disney World and take over Tom Sawyer Island, and they're going to use that space, which we're just like, what?
I feel like, okay, so when they announced the Walt thing, a few years ago, there was like 20 years ago, there was a rumor that they were going to get rid of the Abe Lincoln attraction, and people like revolted. Same thing happened with the Tiki Room. People talked about the Tiki Room was going to go away, and people like freaked out. I think during the announcement, they didn't mention that that's where it was going because the reaction could be unpredictable, we'll say. I haven't seen people be very upset about this, though, which I guess is a good thing.
We were talking about this because the Rivers of America in Disneyland are very different than how the Rivers of America are used in Walt Disney World. For us, it's hard to imagine them not being here because so many things utilize them. We have the Mark Twain, of course, the sailing ship Columbia, Fantasmic, hello. I feel like you can't do that. I just can't imagine. They can't do that here. Whereas Walt Disney World, they just have their riverboat and Tom Sawyer's Island, of course, and that's really it. They don't. There's not a nighttime show that happens on their Rivers of America. They don't even have like the canoes. I don't even know if they have those. To me, it's not used as much as ours is very multifunctional.
Yeah.
So I don't think. Of course, Tage and I are like, don't touch ours. So I don't think they will. I think this is a very like Walt Disney World specific change. I just can't see them. So please, everyone, don't panic. This is not Disneyland. We're talking about the Disney World Rivers of America. Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty shocking. Nothing's off the table, apparently, when it comes to these. Coming to Animal Kingdom, they are retheming the Dino Land area into the Tropical Americas, which this was teased, and I feel like we had seen concept art for this, but it's official. It is happening. 2 new attractions are going to be coming. 3 new attractions will be coming. The dinosaur attraction currently in Dino Land will be rethemed to an Indiana Jones style attraction. This, though, is not going to be a carbon copy of our Indiana Jones attraction here. It's going to have a new storyline, new theming. It's different from all the other ones, which is great. We love to hear it. There's going to be a really fun themed carousel with all sorts of hand-carved animals to ride. However, these are not just like jumping ponies and backwards skunks like we're used to. No, they actually had one on display. It was a hand-carved Kevin. Kevin, of course, is the fun feathered friend from Up. So that'll be really, really fun. And then the thing that was the most exciting is Casita is coming to the Tropical Americas, and Casita will be housing an attraction. So you get to enter the world of Encanto and get to kind of travel and explore through Casita, which will be incredible. So not only did we get a Coco attraction, there's also an Encanto attraction coming to a Walt Disney park.
Which will also be Casita will basically make the furniture come alive, and that's kind of going to be the ride vehicle for that. So very exciting for that. That's going to be 2027. Around the globe for Avengers, we already talked about the stuff that was at Disney California Adventure. In Shanghai Disneyland, they're getting a new Spider-Man attraction that's going to come and be available there. In Hong Kong Disneyland, they're going to expand on Stark Expo, which is going to have a new Spider-Man. It almost looks like they're going to use the ride technology from Tower of Terror / Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, possibly. So that's an expansion there. So yeah, that mixed with the California Adventure one, lots of Marvel.
Paris will be getting a Lion King themed attraction. It looks like it's a water flume attraction similar to Splash and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but Lion King themed, which really, Lion King is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, so it's wild to me that we don't, like, there's shows while there's Lion King representation in like shows and nighttime spectaculars and such, but I can't think of
look at how long it took.
A Lion King themed attraction.
Look how long it took for Little Mermaid to finally get an attraction. Now but it just seems like there's quite a. But I'm here for it.
They also announced that they're re-theming and renaming, but then also kind of reconfiguring the second park in Paris. It's going to now be renamed Disney Adventure World. And they also announced a new nighttime show that they're building, like I think it's called the Adventure Lagoon.
Oh yeah.
And there's going to be a nighttime show in that lagoon.
Seems World of Color like.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. But they have it intentionally so that it's experienced, like you can experience it in 360. So it's not like World of Colors where you can only really, like you really have to be on it front on to see the water projections. This one they're going to make it so you could stand anywhere around the lagoon, similar to what they do at the World Showcase Lagoon.
A little less exciting perhaps. In 2025, 2 new lounges are coming to Disney World. One is going to be inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean, and the other is going to be inspired by Spaceship Earth.
What are you talking about? That Pirates will look pretty cool.
It looks cool, but it's not like an attraction.
Sure. Test Track is going to be reimagined at Epcot in 2025. It's going to be reimagined in conjunction with Chevrolet. I'm going to be very, very honest. I've only experienced Test Track in its current state once, maybe twice. So I'm curious what this is going to be. I do remember thinking it needed a refresh the times that I've ridden it.
I always kind of wished I could ride it when it first opened because it was the like crash test dummy kind of theme.
Yeah.
And then they turned it into like design your own car and test it. And this one seems like it's going to be a little bit more like that original, not quite, but still kind of that vibe, I guess.
From the Disney Parks blog, it says new show scenes will be added, showcasing technological advances and how our lifestyles and relationships to mobility connect everyone. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's going to focus on onboard technology, customization, and personalization, followed by a trip through a scenic outdoor route, reminding us all of the joys of driving and taking in the world around us.
I'm excited. And then there's a new nighttime parade that is debuting at Magic Kingdom in 2025. That's going to be there. It's called Disney Starlight. They only showed a piece of concept art, but it looked really amazing. We did talk to Trevor at the Imagineering Pavilion. He works with Disney Live Entertainment, and he was talking about how excited he was for this and thought that they were actually going to show off a little bit more because they actually had a little bit more to show. But I'm assuming that they don't want to spill all the beans right now.
And then the final 2 park announcements. World of Frozen is coming to Disney Adventure World, which was the newly named park in Paris. This sounded like it's going to be similar to the World of Frozen that already exists in, is it Hong Kong? Mm-hmm. So that's very exciting for Frozen fans, but move aside Frozen fans, the villains are in town.
Yes, which I felt maybe I shouldn't have, but I felt very tricked. Because we got to the end and he was like, we're done with everything, and then the magic mirror came out and I was like, he's like, you forgot this one area that you did or whatever, and I was like, oh, it's going to be Tomorrowland, and then it was villains.
Because you want everything to be Tomorrowland.
Well, because Tomorrowland needs a redo. Construction is beginning soon. They didn't really release much or many details on this. This looks like it will be behind the Big Thunder area in Magic Kingdom, so that should be exciting, but light on actual details.
Okay, I feel like a bad person because I told you all that we were going to talk about all the different musical acts that we got to see that help kind of announce all of these different things.
And we skipped by it.
And we skipped by it, we forgot. But the Plain White Tees help announce the Tropical Americas with singing Pressure, which was super cool and super fun. Chromeo, I think maybe is what they were called. They were DJs that helped announce the Fortnite stuff.
You'll have to remind me the name, but the guy who played Short Round in Indiana Jones was his reveal was he was conducting the orchestra, and I think everybody originally thought it was John Williams who was becoming a Disney legend the next night, but no, it was Ke Huy Quan, and he's amazing.
I love him so much.
Yeah.
I want to be his friend.
I do too.
He's just like he's just a bundle of joy. Like he's always just so happy and so excited. Yeah.
And all the good luck he's had and all the earned, deserved acclaim he's got recent is totally deserved and
1000%.
amazing. One thing we didn't mention was they did have 2 sections where Deadpool came out and did kind of like a little musical number, which was hilarious. I will talk about the one thing Teresa can mention, the thing she was sad about. They did poke fun at the Yeti not working in Animal Kingdom, which I thought was amazing. He suggested some attractions like Logan's Run with Logan from Wolverine.
Oh, that's
obviously.
right. Yeah, Deadpool wanted more Deadpool in the parks, and then when they said no more we're not doing more Deadpool in the parks, he said, well, can I at least help you come up with ideas? So then he had his own little sketchbook worth of ideas.
Yeah, and what was the thing that they poked fun at that you were sad about?
Poking fun at Murphy catching fire, and I was like, focus more on the Yeti. It's too soon. Leave Murphy alone. But they also talked about the dragon that's in the parade, Festival of Fantasy parade in Walt Disney World, that had also caught fire. So I guess maybe I don't know which dragon was which, so maybe it just felt like they were poking a lot of fun at poor Murphy, but yeah. And that was the other thing. So we thought, ooh, maybe that means that they're going to say something about, like, if they're replacing the dragon or not. They did not. But I think Tag was right. It was a really good way of, Disney poking fun at themselves, but then also maybe letting guests know, yes, we understand. These things are needing some attention. We have not forgotten about them. So fingers crossed. It does seem like all of the Disneyland 70th anniversary announcements will be announced just through the Parks blog, which we were like, the Ultimate Fan events in Anaheim, it would have been great for those who have been announced during this, because we're, literally right next to the park. But I get it. I think they were very focused on Walt Disney World because, well, they need to be, because Universal has this little thing coming called Epic Universe, which looks wild. They are massively expanding out in the Florida, Orlando area. So Disney has to, they need to keep up.
Yep.
But yeah, so they've got a lot of competition over there, so I understand why their focus was more over there. But all in all, amazing. This was by far, not just because it was the parks related thing. This, to me, show quality wise, was the best of the 3 days. I could not believe how many talented big name musical acts. Pentatonix came out a couple of times. Like, there were so many acts that I wouldn't have thought that I would necessarily go maybe see their concerts, but that I got to see perform live, which was just insane. I told Tag at the end of it, because after the entertainment panel or presentation, you kind of said, this makes me feel like I want to go to a rock concert because it was so fun. So after the parks one, or the parks and cruise ships one, I looked at Tag and I said, well, we kind of went to a rock concert, didn't we?
Yeah. Just quickly to mention, the second night, once we knew where to go for the shuttles back, totally easy. Everything went great. Again, the whole team with D23 deserves some props for getting that aspect organized. It was great.
I just need to give the biggest of biggest shout outs to Michael Vargo and the entire D23 team. I know we had him on the show. I know we've talked to him. I know we've talked to other people just while we were at the expo and thanked them all profusely, because I just cannot wrap my head around how they make this event possible for all of us fans to come and enjoy. It is no small feat. It is just this really amazing, incredible experience. Somehow this year, Tag and I were very fortunate that during the Ultimate Fan event, there was one time that there was a little bit of a bump in the road on the first day, but that was it. Other than that, totally smooth sailing. We didn't run into like a lot of confusion, because it's other times like there'd be lines and we weren't sure what lines to go in or whatever, and people just didn't know, because it's a one weekend event with this insane army of people. So of course you're going to have people that just are there for the day that are also trying to catch up themselves so that they know, so that they're able to help with things. But it was just smooth. The overall feel and vibe of all of the other people at the convention floor felt much more relaxed and calm and fun. There wasn't a lot of people that I felt were very stressed or angry or upset about situations, because in the past, you hear people that have complaints or things aren't going exactly how they are, so they kind of get down on it. I didn't overhear a single negative comment, which this is a massive event. So how that's even possible, I don't know. So huge shout out to everybody that was involved in making this weekend such a success. I'm just in awe. I'm just in awe of all of you, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everyone for making this possible, so that Disney fan crazy people like Tag and myself can go have these amazing experiences on this incredible weekend.
Yeah, it was really great. Everybody that we talked to at the meetup last night, anybody who's going to ask me going forward, of the 3 we've been to, this has been the best. We didn't have troubles, even though we stood by for some of the panels we wanted. We didn't have any trouble getting into anything we wanted to get into. The show floor was busy, but again, once we decided to just commit, it wasn't, the lines looked bad, but they weren't too bad. So 100%, the team deserves like the next 6 months off for the amount of work I'm sure they put in for this, which is impossible, but they did a great job. And if they continuously get better every year like they do, I can't even imagine what the next one's going to be like, because it was just great. And I know we thank Michael Vargo, but it's, the whole team for sure. He's the face, but
He's the
even
captain
he
steering
said
the ship.
it's the team, just like at the Legends people. It's a whole team effort, from Michael Vargo all the way down to the security person who's just trying to get people to go certain places or whatever. Like, they all did a fantastic job. They all had smiles on their faces. People had a lot of energy. So I'm interested to see how this momentum continues into future expos and how great 10 years from now is going to be.
Do you know what's crazy, though? And I don't know if it's just the sheer vastness of this event. Tage and I were there for 3 days, y'all. 3 days. We were there all 3 days. We got there right as the doors opened and stayed as late as we could before we had to travel over to the Honda Center. So we did lose a little bit of show floor time. But we had more show floor time this expo than we had previous years. And this is the first year that we did not make it to every single corner of that expo floor, because it was just so massive. So massive. There was so much to do. We felt like we did everything, and we didn't even scratch the surface. There was plenty of things that we wanted to go to, but time just didn't allow when we prioritized things like going to the Imagineering campus several times and sitting and spending lots of time talking with the Imagineers and the Disney Live Entertainment cast members there, and kind of nerding out and geeking out with them about their careers and our love of what they do, which that was important to us. So we didn't get to experience stuff like the Abbott Elementary Pavilion was like rocking. People were having so much fun.
Everybody talked about it, yeah.
Everybody talked about it. We didn't even have a chance to go experience that. I feel like a terrible person. I never even got to step foot in the D23 marketplace, which is where all of the littler outside vendors are. I didn't even get to step foot over there, and I felt like I was so sad. It dawned on me as we left. I'm like, how did I never get back there? But
and we didn't even really waste a lot of time.
No.
So we didn't spend a lot of time. Like, when we ate and stuff, we were really quick.
Yeah.
I felt like we were pretty efficient getting there and trying to get through stuff. We left as late as we felt comfortable to get to the Honda Center. So I will say one thing that people mentioned is, if you don't get Honda Center tickets, all of the show floor stuff becomes a lot easier. People were saying that there was no lines. All of the things that you had to wait in virtual queues for, all the virtual queues went away. That might be it.
I will share this. This is just gonna say how much of how different it was in the evenings when the Honda Center left. I had a hidden mini be very, very kind and generous and went to the Lorcana, the Ravensburger booth, which was the most insane, craziest spot of the entire event, I think. The demand for getting in and getting the promo cards and getting the
I think every
D23
attendee was trying to go there.
Set. Yeah, it was crazy, wild madness. She was able to walk up Sunday evening, and she was able to purchase one on my behalf, which was just amazing. So that was the other cool thing too, is I think vendors were very well prepared for what the crowds were going to be and what the level of excitement for products were. So I did hear there was a couple of books that got sold out, which was a little strange because it was books that were coinciding with author signings.
Oh, sure.
So that was maybe not, the stock wasn't quite there for some of those things, but I was surprised that the exclusive merch on some places, especially the Ravensburger Lorcana set, that they made sure that they were well prepared. Of course, there was other exclusive merch that did sell out. There were things like Mickey's of Glendale. So there was stuff, this is just how those events go. You're not going to be able to go, buy everything, because it's just impossible. But yeah, anyways, it was just wildly crazy to me.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our whole weekend. If you weren't able to make it, hopefully our conversation took us there in your mind, and maybe it encouraged you to go next time.
It vicariously through our experiences.
Yeah.
Well, until then, we're going to go out and enjoy the parks. Thanks, everyone.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.
Hey, it's Michelle Beadle. That's right, the Michelle Beadle. You're welcome. You love talking about sports. I love talking about sports. You know the only thing cooler than talking about sports? Sports! And right now, all your favorite sports are on Sirius XM. I'm talking every NFL game, every game from the NBA, NHL, MLB, every NASCAR race, golf major conference college sports, and all the top games in the WNBA. If it gets your heart pumping, it's on Sirius XM. So start your free trial of Sirius XM today. Visit SiriusXM.com/believe.